Hey, everybody. Did you guys all like seeing my timer restop and like go back to 5 minutes? So anybody that's jumping in, I was like, wait, I had 3 more minutes. Like, I'm kidding, it's not really gonna happen. So hey, everybody. For those of you who are on Project Broadcast's page or on our YouTube channel, it's Johanna. I'm here to bother you guys again and bring some mic drop moments and kernels of amazing truth. And today we have a pretty amazing lady here, Miss Deb. Please explain how awesome you are. Give me a little bit of information. I have been dragging this lady through the ringer, you guys, these last couple of weeks, trying to get her on here. And at no fault of her own, I'm just a mess and very chaotic. And she has done nothing but be patient with me, and I'm so glad she's here today. So please introduce yourself and let everyone know who you are.
You're so sweet. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be talking about a topic that I love so much. So I'm Deb Raley. I own the social tech team, and I teach small business owners and network marketers, direct sellers, social sellers. I teach the how-to part. I am not really a mindset trainer. I think there's a lot of value in people who can do mindset training. I absorb all of their content like a sponge because I find such value in it. But I am the how-to person. I'm the one who connects the dots. So when you see something like a reel or an effect or some automation or something that you're like, man, that's really cool. I wonder how I can do that. I'm that person. I teach you how to do that. I'm a nerd, a total geek at heart, and I love technology. I know a lot of people tend to kind of shy away from it or feel overwhelmed, and I can sometimes feel overwhelmed by it too. But I really, I've always loved it. My background is in marketing, so I get the marketing side of it. I've been in the direct selling world. I was in there for 11 years, so I get that side of it. I've had my own business for a long time, so I can dip into a lot of different buckets and really kind of chunk down the technology into bite-sized pieces that make it really absorbable. And I really try to help tune out what do you really need to pay attention to, and what can you really just kind of just say that's great and just kind of move that off the table in your brain, to just kind of move it out of the way.
I think that's my favorite part. What can we move out of the way for our brain today?
Yeah. What can we do? And really, because I've always loved technology. I've always been a part of that. And my marketing education was already there before social media came in. So then it's just this ongoing, learning process. And so I always say never stop learning, because as soon as you learn something, in a snap, it's going to be finished. Like I was telling you that I had just finished this kind of a guide. I call it a guide, it's a book, but it's a guide. And the chapter on Twitter, literally 2 days after it's there on Amazon, they change it to X. And I was like, you gotta be kidding. I mean, thankfully all the content is still there. It's just called something different. But I mean, everything changes so quickly. So you do have to constantly be in a state of learning. And since I am a solopreneur, and that's really kind of the niche that I specialize with, I get it. I get what it's like to have to run on a shoestring budget, on limited resources, on limited time. And so I try to seek out those tools and those resources that are low cost, no cost, and break it down into a way that's manageable. And that's where I really love where Project Broadcast fits into this, and how I've really developed that relationship with my text marketing. Because it's, I mean, the reality is, and everyone who's watching has heard this a million times, 99% of your audience is going to look at their phone. They look at their phone so many times a day just to check their text message. Doesn't mean they're going to reply, right? But they're going to see it, which is, I think, way more effective than even running paid ads. And I know somebody's going to come after me and go, no, I disagree. That's fine. That's fine. But when you're already talking to a warm audience, which is in your text audience, you're just like that much further in the whole marketing sequence. But then to have to try to figure this out, like, how do I grow my business and spin all these plates all the time and learn stuff and manage the house and the kids and, everything that's going on how can I kind of get some systems in place and some automations that will help me do that? And so I really try to help find the automations that will save my sanity, save my money, save my time, grow my audience, engage my audience. I mean, those are some big key things when it comes to being able to function, as a solopreneur. And so what I love, and I've tried truly over the years, I can't say I've tried every tech service out there, but I've tried a bunch. Because I test everything that I recommend, I'm testing, right? And so years ago, it's been years that I've been a partner here with Project Broadcast. I've been using Project Broadcast for years.
Yep.
And right out of the gate, I said, everyone can just stop looking. This is it. And it has continued to grow. Project Broadcast, the features and functionality have continued to grow over the years. They have become more robust, more automated. And I'm going to talk about a couple of things I think people should be using in Project Broadcast, and then some things I think you guys should stop actually doing to make things better.
Please.
But it's absolutely hands down the best tool out here, in my opinion.
And we really appreciate your opinion. So I am excited to hear this, and I'm really glad you're here today.
Oh, you're a gem. Thanks. Well, here's what I think. I think the content, and we could talk about text marketing, we could talk, really any kind of content. The content that we put out to our people is training our people. So if the content that we're putting out is constantly a product push, a sales flyer, we are training our people that is the only type of communication that they're going to get from us. And they're going to decide real quick whether they're going to respond to that every single time, or if that's just going to be a hard pass, I'm not interested in that today. And they won't even take the time to read it. So when we talk about texting and the content that you put out there, it is a little different than any other type of content. It's got to be short, sweet, simple, to the point. It's got to be you. It's got to sound like you. And it's got to be a little bit of a variety, not so much like, hey, so what's the weather like in your neck of the woods, right? I'm not saying we need to be that casual, but it needs to be not always a sales push. And I'm just going to give you a little life lesson of my own. Even though I say that and I know that, it is so easy to fall into this rhythm and this rut of just ignoring that and just saying, well, I'm excited about this. I'm excited about this sale. I'm going to promote it. I'm excited about this product. I'm going to promote it. And your audience isn't going to be as excited as you are. That's just the real deal. I was in direct sales. I was excited about my product, but your audience, they don't speak the same language. They don't, the things that tingle your toes don't tingle theirs. And so you've got to really start thinking like the client, or thinking like the customer. What would they find value in? So the more that you can show up with value in an authentic way, then when it's time for the sale, they're going to be a little bit more interested, because the reality is they can buy that product probably from a lot of different places. They stay coming back to you because of the relationship that they feel like they have for you. And I liken that to, let's say, if anyone's ever watched Grey's Anatomy. Okay, I haven't watched the whole way through, but I've watched a lot of it. Now, early on in Grey's Anatomy, there was a character named George. I don't know if everyone, season 1, maybe season 2, George was there. Everybody loved George. George was like, everyone was cheering for George.
Yep.
But you know what? And spoiler alert, if you haven't seen this, George dies. All right. So George, gets killed off kind of early on in the season. And we notice when he's not there, because he was showing up, right? He was showing up all the time. He wasn't always like, hey, I need to be the doctor. Hey, I need to be the doctor. Hey, he was showing up in a lot of different storylines, and it kept us interested in what was going on with George. So when George isn't there, we notice he's not there. We don't know George from Adam. He's a guy playing a character, right? But we feel like we know him. We feel like we have this connection, right? So we missed him when he's not there. And it's the same way with your content. When you show up investing in people, trying to build these relationships with people, whether we're texting with them or we're, showing up in a video like this, when we're connecting with them, they feel like they have this loyal connection to us.
Love that.
So that when we do show up with a sale or a promotion or a recommendation, we are the words that they're hanging on.
I love it. I feel like
they miss us when we're not there because they feel like we've got this relationship. And that's where text marketing can really help, is to really build the relationship. All right. So when it comes to automations, because this is where I really kind of get excited. I try to think of how can I automate and still be authentic with a couple of things. So automating things does not mean it's impersonal. You can still be very personal, even though it's automated. Automating is simply a system that you're putting in place to give you more time, more sanity, more opportunity for income producing activities. All right. So that's what an automation is really for. And it helps you stay top of mind with your customer and not always in a salesy way. So let me give you some examples of how you might use an automation. So if I'm in direct sales and I want to set up a system, because I can remember being in direct sales, I bring in, let's start with just team building. I bring in a new team member, and I can remember it started off, I had folder after folder with tabs, and like, I've got to give her all this paperwork and she's got to do all this stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is a binder. I'm handing off a binder. And so I quickly was like, because I'm a technical person, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to use any of that. I'm instead going to create all of this in the digital space, and I'm just going to email, right? I'm going to email and send this. But that still required a discipline on my part of showing up, like reminding myself or setting a reminder that I need to make this phone call today, or I need to send this email. So now let's move this into the digital space, into the automated space.
Yeah.
If I'm in text marketing, I'm using Project Broadcast, and let's say I set up a drip campaign, a welcome drip campaign. And maybe it's someone who's my first level. Maybe she's my second, my third level. She's somewhere in my downline or my tree. Okay. So I have this welcome campaign that goes out for 90 days. I'm not texting her every day for 90 days, by the way. But it's strategic. Like I'm probably texting in shorter increments in the beginning, and then I start to space it out. Now, here's what I'm including in those messages. I'm saying, first of all, like my first message is just like, hey, I'm so glad you're on this team. I'm so glad you're part of this family with me, or this community with me. I just wanted to introduce myself and make sure that you save this phone number. This is my contact information. And then I say nothing else. I don't go on and on about anything else. I'm just like, hey, I'm glad you're here. Then I'm going to send her maybe another message in 2 days' time. And with that, I'm going to include an attachment. Because Project Broadcast, you can have attachments. So I'm going to have a PDF document that I've created that has the contact information of maybe the rest of the family, right? And I was going to say, hey, I introduced you, or hey, I connected with you the other day. I wanted to also share with you the rest of our family. You might be hearing from them too. Here's the attachment, right? And it has the attachment. Now, here's what I like about the attachment. And here's what I love about using these types of tools for growing your downline. Because when you have the attachment, you can go back and see who has accessed the attachment, right?
Yeah.
So you know right out of the gate, who are the ones that are running, grabbing the stuff and ready to run, and who are the ones, sleeping at the wheel.
Yep.
Right. Because now you're going to like maybe, ring a ding. Hello. Are you checking in with me? Instead of just texting, you're going to actually make some phone calls.
Yeah.
You can start doing that early on. And so those PDF attachments, I think it doesn't have to be a PDF. It could be, all kinds of things, but I think PDFs are easy. You can create it in Canva, upload it, and then include this in your drip. So you're scheduling these drips to go out, every so often. And then at the end, you have a lot of different varieties of different ways you can guide and direct them, or they can be self-guided. So I love this for new team members because it helps with you showing up, staying top of mind, making this a priority, but not chewing away at your time, right? And
Yes.
then at your leisure, you can kind of go in and spot check and kind of see what's been accessed, what hasn't. And you can always jump in and add a few things, and you can reply to some things. So I love this. So the same, so you could do drip campaigns for the when coming in. You could do calendar campaigns, like we have some upcoming trainings that you just want to remind them of. You can have these going on simultaneously, right?
Yeah.
When you understand how these campaigns work and you understand the role that you play with this team that's being built, you can set up these automated systems that allow you to show up to nurture and welcome and encourage them within your direct selling community without cutting into your own schedule that you have for the day of income producing activity.
Perfect. Ooh,
All
I
right.
like it. Yes.
So I do love it for that. And when we have those types of things already set up as a leader, to be able to just copy this bundle code
Oh,
and
yes.
say, okay, I've got this whole series, all this drip stuff, this calendar stuff, I've got all this ready, and I'm going to go over here to, Sally, who's also a leader in my company, and say, Sally, I'm going to give you this code, plug this in, and boom, it's like magic. It's going to show up in her system so that as she gets new people coming in, she can just use that same system. It's highly duplicable. I love this.
Oh, so good.
And it's so easy. It's so simple. So that's for if you have like a new team. But what if you have a new customer? I love campaigns for new customers. But again, this is where it starts to get tricky, because as a direct seller or as a small business owner, I want to tell everybody about my products all the time. So how can we have a campaign where we're talking about things that aren't always about a product, but add value? And it's not that we're just talking about dogs and weather. I mean, because I'm like, that's almost a waste of a credit. I don't want to do that,
No, I don't want to.
because I'm of the mindset that anything that I put out, no matter where it is, I should have some intentional plan and purpose for why that's out there, and be able to track it, or be able to take something with that data that comes back and move it and pivot it into a different place.
Love it.
Otherwise, I'm not sure that my time is being well spent, because I'm functioning on limited time, right? So I love the new AI tool in Project Broadcast. Okay. But I think it's still early on, so it has some room to improve.
Yes.
Can I share my screen here?
Let me
see.
Can. Let's do a quick ensure here. Share screen. Do you have it below at the bottom?
Yeah.
You should be able to present if you'd like.
Okay. All right.
I'm going on the fly. Let's go.
All right. Let's see. Hopefully you'll see this.
Yep, it's popping up.
Okay.
Let me go.
So I'm just kidding. This is chat. Is it not showing?
Right there, ma'am.
Okay. So this is Chat GPT. Now, this is a free tool everyone has access to. And I just gave it a very simple prompt, because what happens with the tool within Project Broadcast, I'm limited to one message. But I'm thinking to myself, I need to write more than one message. So I gave it this prompt. I gave Chat GPT this prompt. And I said, you have to give real specific instructions with these types of tools. So I said, there will be 3 messages in this countdown campaign. Write all 3 messages and organize them. Recommend a graphic. Announce a countdown to a sale kicking off for the new year. The product is jewelry. The sale is 50% off. Write the message in a casual, fun tone with a call to action. Space them out for maximum effectiveness. Choose the beginning message date and the final message date. Include extra message the day of the sale, and the sale begins on this date. So ChatGPT will now spit out for me, here's the first message. It needs to go out on this date. Here's what it needs to say.
Cool.
Here's the second message. Here's the date it needs to be scheduled. Here's what it needs to say. Here's the third message. Okay. So it gives me these, and I'm like, okay, that's good. This is a good starting point. This is not the end of it, right? So I copied this, and then let me pop this up. I pulled this into my Project Broadcast. Okay. So in Project Broadcast, here's my countdown messages. And here's the second one right here. I copied and pasted it here, right? I hope this is still coming through.
Yep, it's coming through. I see it.
It's a nice little pop. Okay, so here's my little screen, and it has, okay, here's the updated message. Now, if I click on my little Avia, is that how I pronounce it? Okay, Ava. If I click on Ava, I can now make a few more decisions here. If I want to make it shorter, the more I like condensed because these need to be really short and sweet, right? But you can simplify, do whatever. So if I said condense, I want it to rewrite to be shorter. So it doesn't automatically do it, which that I love because it gives me like a little preview.
Okay.
So it's taken the meat of what I got out of Chat GPT, which I love.
Yep.
And then I can go in here and I can say, condense this even further. And then I can say, okay, let's insert that. Okay.
I love that you showed that. That's awesome.
So those are some easy tools when we're talking about building out some of these campaigns, particularly for customers. So I've got one that's like, it would say, for example, based on what they purchase, like the first one is to say, thanks for being a part of my community here. Just wanted to make sure you save my contact information, right? Then another one might be asking about a purchase that they recently made because you have an attachment that you can send to them that gives them some tips about that purchase. And it could be a very generalized PDF, which again, I've said those attachments, you can see who's actually accessing them. But again, having these touch points every few days and spacing it out for those first 90 days is what's going to help build that loyalty with that customer. And that is the beauty of some of these drip campaigns. So drip campaigns are great for countdowns for sales, for new customers coming in, but I also love them for text parties.
Ooh.
And what I like about, like at Christmas time for our academy last year, I gave them this. It was called our Holly Jolly Christmas organization thing. And it had, part of it was texting, part of it was emailing, but it had this whole text drip campaign. But it's all from the very first message. It's driven by the customer, which I love it because the customer gets to decide, how do I interface for the 12 days?
Right.
Do I want to get a text message every day for 12 days? Or am I just like, can you please just show me everything right now? That would be great. So you have a landing page that maybe has everything. And then you have this campaign that has it dripped out. So from the very beginning, you could say the customer, I'm going to be doing 12 days of Christmas. If you would like it, slow roll, reply with slow roll. If you want, all at once, just say now. And then depending on what they say determines which path they go down. Right? Because then it's a little more work on your part to set it up, unless you grab my bundles. But it's a little more work for you to set up, but it's so much easier for the customer. And the more you can make things easy for the customer, the more likely they are to participate, which brings me to probably one of my favorite, easiest automations. I've got a whole long list of them, but this is one that drives me nuts. Is I see a graphic that someone will post on social media that'll say, text water to whatever number, right? To get in on my freebie or to get my whatever. And I know the thinking, I get the thinking, trust me. But here's the real deal. The overwhelming majority of people are watching that on this little device. So what you're really asking someone to do is shut down the app that they saw that on, have memorized your phone number and the word, and then go over to their text app and do it. That's never going to happen. No one's going to do that. So what you should do instead is there's a service you can use. It's free to get a link made. And so with that link, you would instead would say, if you'd like if you'd like the alert when the sale drops, click this link. And when they click that link, their messaging app opens up on their phone and it has your keyword already there written out for them. All they got to do is send. That puts them, that's so easy. And it puts them right into your text funnel where they can start getting all the messages. It's fabulous. It's one of my most favorite things.
Yes. It's that very easy way to make things less friction for anybody. I was actually looking through our training website and our YouTube, and I realized we don't have anything up that talks about the T2LL and creating an SMS link. So I'm so glad you mentioned it today, because I know what I will be doing later today when I get bombarded with people like, wait a minute, when did you show this? How do we know? What is Deb talking about?
Yeah. Yep. There's a reel. I think I tagged you guys in the reel that I did that talks about that.
Yeah, that's right. So definitely go take a look at her Instagram page and see if you can find it. That's awesome.
So those are my, I mean, gosh, I could go on for days about all the automations, but I think that at the end of the day, making sure that you have content that brings value. And so many people have said this before me. So many people will say this after me, bringing value to your customer. I will tell you the truth in all this is it was probably a few years ago. And I'd fallen into this rut where even though I knew better, I wasn't doing better. And I had like a series of like 5 or 6 text messages that had gone out over the course of like 3 months, maybe. But every single one of them was about a workshop or a mastermind that I was getting ready to have. And in between all of that, I had no tips in there. I had no nurturing sequences of any kind in there. It was just 5 or 6. It took one person replying to me and saying, I only send text messages about something I am selling, for me to go, what?
Wait, what?
I thought, she's wrong. That's not right. But she was right, because I went back and I looked and I was like, oh, snap. I have really worked with my students.
It's hard though.
And so I thought, I am so grateful for that person to call me out on that. I mean, I truly was, because that reminds me all the time, like, okay, I've got to make sure that my sequence is still active. I got to make sure my dates are still up to date. And I've got to make sure that this is something that I'm focused on if I'm expecting other people to focus. I can't say that and then not do it myself.
I love that you brought that up, because at least that person, like you said, was willing to tell you how many people are out there that are thinking the same thing with everybody else text message, being like, oh, they just send me this, this, and this. So that's such a good dose of reality for all of us.
Yeah. I think everybody has some kind of example where they've, done something the wrong way, and hopefully somebody will be like, excuse me.
Your dynamic field is missing one of those little things at the end. So you said hi posting to about 500 people, but it's fine because I'm human. So
for sure.
You dropped some really amazing truth bombs in here. And as everybody who's at least in the project broadcast space is seeing all these people come in here and talk about her academy and how amazing it is and everything that she provides. I do want to plug your book. You guys, she tabbed it for me because she loves me and knows that I wanted to go directly to the text marketing spot. But I know so many people are out there YouTubing and Googling like how to understand all these different platforms. And this book literally has like examples and things you can fill out. And I mean, it's short and sweet. So if you get a chance, I wrote it in our comment section, but I'm gonna write it in again. Check it out. It's really good. Don't judge the Twitter thing now called X. That was literally 2 days after she did this, so don't judge her. But I hope you can come back. I hope we can chat more and get into even more automations, even ones outside of project broadcast, because I feel like you have such a wealth of knowledge that you need to share, and we would love that wealth of knowledge. So
I would love to work with y'all on some kind of a series for sure, and help, because I think you guys have a great community for hungry for learning, and that's my heart, is to serve that audience. So I'll pop in the comments with a link. I have a challenge, a free challenge that's coming up to talk about these automations, to kind of help everyone who's interested in that. It's a free automation, and I've got some free screensavers. Some people call them wallpaper, some people, because that's one of the things that I send out to my audience, is just like, I'm always trying to think of gifts to give people that are affordable for me. And so I'm like, to give them a little encouraging screensaver that they can just refresh on their phone is always super helpful. So
I love that.
I'll throw those, and it'll just be my link tree. So it'll have the link to other things. But if anyone has questions about the book too, certainly ask me questions, and I'll be doing some rebates on the book. So
awesome. Well, thank you, ma'am, for coming in today, and we will definitely set up some more events together. I appreciate you, and we'll chat with everybody soon.
That sounds great. Guys, thank you so much. And I hope this has been helpful to everyone.
Bye, guys.
Take care.